This afternoon, pressure is mounting on government to downsize the number of ministers serving the state in order to ease the burden on the public purse. Well, Ghana's economy is on the knees, and the government is grappling to secure an IMF deal amid rising inflation, labor agitations, and an all-time low downgrade of the economy by ratings agency Moody's. Former President John Agyekum Kufuor says it's time President Akufo-Addo reshuffled average ministers.
No, I didn't reshuffle just for the frequency of it. No. Any shifts I made, like I mentioned, Mrs. Asma, I liked her so much. May she rest in peace. And she helped me so much when I was canvassing to become president. Western region, she ran a small loan scheme herself before we came to power. And in a way she contributed towards establishing Maslow. And so when we got into power, she was trying to do it. But along the way I saw that she wasn't pulling the support I expected from the ladies, the women. When I say ladies, I mean the women generally. And especially the younger women, she was a bit aged. So I sensed, and we wanted the young people to get enthused with our efforts. So I looked, and then I will mention her name, the one who is Ghana's ambassador to America now, Halima, young, smart. I saw that she would bring on board the young people, the women generally. So I said, perhaps Mrs. Asma would be more effective going to the fisheries to open the place up for us. So that's how I did the reshuffle. And Halima came on board, and I think Halima seemed to be making the impact with the young people. The women generally, we were talking, fighting teenage pregnancies and all those things. So perhaps the younger people will. So that's the rationale. So I didn't reshuffle just for the sake, but we were watching. The president's role is like a coach, not just a team leader. A coach. You have to know what your ministers are doing, whether they are being positive or whether you think they are just being average, when you should expect more of them. Then you should have the courage to say, please, you don't belong here, go there, or perhaps sit aside. That's how I did mine. And that thing should not be like seasonal, it should be continuous.
And we'll be engaging experts as we look at the practicality of these demands on government. But first, we took to the streets to find out, should government decide to downsize, of course, which minister would you want out? Here's some of the reactions on the streets of Accra.
So today we are currently on the street and we are asking the question, if you were the president, which ministries should go? Which of them should merge? We have been talking to the people on the street, the ordinary people, and they have been telling us that indeed there are some ministries that ought to be merged. Others are simply not good to be stand-alone ministries.
It's not actually the size of the government that is necessary, it's their competence. It's their competence. So if the government, if I should be the president, for instance, I think the deputy ministers would be gone, because I don't really see their importance. So we can join them together. The agric and fishery ministries, they could just be just one, because agric and fisheries are just the same thing. So you can just combine them together, just have just one ministry. That's maybe agric ministry, yes. And then the road and highway, the transport and highway too, we can just add them, infuse them together, and then work hand in hand. That'll be okay. If
a whole China has 22 ministers or a ministry to govern the size of this, how? I mean, Ghana, it is just too much. But a ministry like works and housing, okay, like the employment, this ministry can put together. The great ministry. I think the minister himself is not performing. Yes, for that one they have to change. And I think that most of the ministers also, they're of age. It is the ministry directors that work. They do the administration works. You understand? So if the ministry directors are there, I mean, those secretariats and those things are not necessary. I think they can put all of them together under one umbrella.
Railways, transport, aviation has to be one. Then defense ministry and then interior ministry also have to be one. Secretariat doesn't bring anything. At the end of the day, what do? If, let's say, I'm a president, I've set up so many secretariats. We have even the cathedral also have secretariat. What for? Because it's waste. We are wasting resource. What is going on now? We can't bear anymore. I'm a whole chief, but just I have to bring myself down. Instead of me using my 4x4, I've dumped my 4x4 down using taxi. You can also do the same. Cut down so that the taxes won't bring anything. If you are taxing me, right now you tax me, and if I don't get any better pay, what will you tax? And how much am I going to give? That's the reason why many people are dodging taxes. Being a good leader, you have to be a good listener. If you're a good listener, you know, people will work for you whereby you sit back because you listen to them. Oh, okay. Anyway, your idea is good, but why don't we try it this way too? The meaning, you are just joining with me, but you can't just wake up, implement something, then you tell me it's my dream. We all have dreams.
The Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious, I believe they also fall within the same domain. So to me, what I would advise government is they have to just merge, because life in Ghana is very, very hard, and we can, if there's something we can do to reduce the size of the ministry, then we have to.
So, should we consider a downsize of government, or where should we be heading towards? Joining me now is political scientist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asasanti. Thank you, Doc, for your time. The demands on the streets of Accra, some are asking for a merger of the ministries that of course, appear to be performing the same functions. Looking at the options we have, what should we be opting for in this, in the wake of the economic crisis?
I think, good afternoon, Blessed, and I'm happy to join you. I think the reality is out there for the government to see. People in the streets are telling government what to do. Not the case that they know better than government, but they think that something has gone amiss and that there's a need for correction. And that someone suggesting that there should be merger of some ministries. I agree. Because if you look at some of the ministries, they are performing the same functions. And so why do you keep them? This is part of the prudence you want to ensure that you have within the system. All right. So some of the ministries, such as the Ministry of Communication and Information, what's the difference? Put them together. It's part of the downsizing. Agric and Fisheries, the people pointed out, that's also a good one. Ministry of Food and Agriculture, we are in there. And then a host of them. If you look at, let's remember that ministerial reshuffle includes also splitting of ministries and merging them. This is one way to go. That then you come to the real numbers. The Constitution mandates the government to have at least 19 as cabinet ministers. I don't want any number more than 19. Just keep 19 ministers, and the rest will be filled by a few deputy ministers, and then the chief directors will take over from there. Even, when going forward, when we cross the Rubicon going forward, I am even thinking that is it not possible for us that if you look at the Constitution, it says that for each region you should have a minister. Why can't you even have all the ministers? As regional ministers, they are regional and they double as ministers, so that you don't have much in terms of what the bill that you need to pay and all that. Imagine the 16 regional ministers, they double as ministers for the states. All right, we are good to go, so that we appoint a few. All right, and then you take, for instance, Greater Accra regional minister, who will say a minister for defense, and then the rest of them. If you don't get the number, you add a few, and then we are good to go. Because this is the one the Constitution says we should have and all that. If you don't want to go on that route, you can also look at what? Bringing it down to 19 to meet the cabinet requirement. And that's it. The work of ministers are done mostly by the bureaucrats, the technical officers and all that. And that you need very few. So plenty deputy ministers, we don't need them. It's part of the things that, because if you look at how much they pay them, it's a lot. Their per diem, all the perks associated with their office. Little, we can make savings and then we move on. So I support the call for the downsizing. It should be, a very drastic one so that we can feel the effect.
And let's talk about the effect then, because many believe that if government plans to spend more, it would not necessarily come through the aspect of checking the number of ministers we have. We could cut down the size of ministers, and yet the government will still continue to spend as it wants. If you look at the budget and what government is seeking to do, there's an increased projection for expenditure. So it looks like we're not coming down anytime soon.
Yeah, that's why I have said, and I'll repeat here, that discipline must be something that going forward we need to make sure we have the financial discipline, that we are not going to spend that much. We spend according to what we have. All right. There are necessary expenditure that we incur in this country, which for me is a waste of resource. All right. The government has hinted that projects that are not too important, they want to drop it. I want them to drop the cathedral, all right? Because we need it for what? I don't see it. You don't need a cathedral to save any human life, all right? You can put aside, and then we concentrate on things that will really help us to weather the storm. So yes, we need to instill discipline, financial discipline. We need to also make sure that we meet our target. If you look at the budget that was presented, a lot of things that, as a critical look at of it, I saw that most of our targets, we did not meet them. If you look at the revenue target, we did not. Inflation target, we did not. The debt, accumulation, we went beyond our target and all that. That tells you that there's a policy failure. We should make sure that we have our eyes on policies that we put in place, but examine them.
Yeah, but Doc, I guess the essence of why you are asking for that downsize is just to reduce costs. Let's look at some of the measures announced by the finance minister. Of course, no use of SUVs or the V8s in town, and that countryside journeys is what it is that will require the use of some of these vehicles. The number of cuts that are going to take place in terms of how ministers expend on fuel and some of these allowances. If government is putting in place some of these measures, are we not achieving the same effect in the end?
Yes, we are saying that we are not going to get the effect that we want from only one sector. Say, for instance, you need to downsize, and that's the end of it. No, we need to also check expenditure, such as what the use of plenty cars. Do we need them? We can save resources from there. The use of prudent use of fuel can also help us. And then look at the special assistance that we have. What special ideas do they bring to bear? They will come out to justify the need to have them, but I can say it without fear of contradiction, that all that they bring to bear, the technocrats, they have them. And these are people who are already on our payroll. So why do we need other people? They need to clear all those ones, and then we get the bill slim, and so that we can pay.
What do you fear or suspect might happen if we keep such a size of government?
One, you are going to, cause unnecessary, pain in the system, in the sense that where money needs to get to, you will not be able to provide. And people will always be in the streets and agitate here and there. And that will not bode well for us as a country in this difficult time. Two, the fear is also that if government doesn't show the way or lead by example. It's going to put unnecessary pressure on it, that people will continue to criticize the government, suggest all manner of theories, including those that will not work and all that. And then if government doesn't take time, government will be inundated with a lot of problems and all that sometimes it doesn't give the government the space to think and then put its fingers around some of the problems and deal with them. Above all, you create a certain, condition that people will lose hope and think that we have hit the end of the road. But I tell you, in governance, we always come by, problems such as what we have. All that it needs is that you have leaders who will be sober, reflect upon them, and then take, decisions that will really stand the test of time. And that means that you need to engage stakeholders, experts, and all that. You bring everybody on board, people who matter, and they think that they can help you to turn things around. This is the time that you make that call to all of them to come on board. And once you are asking people to tighten their belt, they want to see on the part of government that government is also doing same, leadership by example. What is also important that we need to do is that we need to not just be just talking, but we need to walk the talk. We have signed on to the issue of, or the principle of good governance, where one of its principles is that decisions that are taken within the state, you need stakeholder engagement. We need to all respect that. We need to also ensure that we are ready to deal with corruption. One of the things that get money through our fingers every year is the issue of corruption. And then waste. You and I are aware of audited general report and all that. There must be prudent effort to plug all these holes. And then we should be able to be transparent. Good governance requires transparency, that you are governing on my behalf. Any decision you take, let me be part and parcel of it. Sometimes I ask myself, why is government trying to inflict a pain to itself? Look at this, loan renegotiation and all that. Why can't you open up the discussion? Let people bear with you. Explain your position to them. You judge all. At the end of the day, you reach a compromise and you take it from there. But if you hide it and then you spring a surprise at people, obviously people will respond. Look at the unions, the labor unions and all that. They tell you that they were not involved, but they were information was passed on to them and all that. Is that how to govern? Government or governance is dialogue. You give and take. You share ideas. Involve them. Let them be part of the problem. They will be part of the solution. And they own the decision that comes out anytime that policy comes on that attack. This is missing. And above all, the issue of political communication. I heard the deputy minister say that, yes, this is it. You either take it or leave it. Yes, we are in difficult times, but the way to communicate, to assuage the pain of people is important. They must be mindful of what they are communicating, all right? Government, where it is in a difficult situation, it's in a fix. So some of these issues, you can't fault government that much. But the way you communicate with these issues will always ameliorate the situation. And that is what is missing. They need to get their acts together.
A very critical time for us as a nation. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist at the University of Ghana. Thank you for joining us. Let's stay.